Welcome to Discovery Watch with John Kaiser.
I'm your host, Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show, John.
Jim, I'm happy to be back on the show.
John, did VR Resources ever get its plan of operations drill permit for its Big Ted AMSL project in Nevada's Walker Lane?
VR Resources is still waiting for this permit required by the Forest Service. It's not the full-blown plan of operations because this area already has, roads, logging roads and that sort through it. It's a modified plan of operations. But they started at the beginning of the year, and they've been assured almost everything, 99.9%, is done. But the Forest Service just can't seem to write that signature on the bottom line, send it off to Mike Gunning, and let him start the drill program that he has planned for the AMSL target. The AMSL target is a potential stockwork, low sulfidation epithermal system. It has the scale to be another Round Mountain, which Kinross operates, where they've now mined 15 million ounces at an average grade of about 1.5 gram per ton. So this is a potentially big discovery play. It's never been drilled. There's geochem evidence on the peripheries of this system, and they have IP anomalies that suggest there's something there. And also there appears to be a potential structural control within it, so that with luck there could be a high-grade Comstock type trend within this larger, lower-grade disseminated system. But it's at about 5,000, 6,000 feet elevation in the southern part of the Walker Lane, and that can get a lot of snow in the winter. And Mike Gunnings now, he figures, okay, 2 more weeks, so if he doesn't have it by the 3rd week of November, it'll be too late to attempt to drill this, and then we'll have to wait until sometime in the 2nd quarter of next year for the AMSL target to be drilled. And so within 2 weeks, hopefully they have it. He has a drill contractor on standby who's working on something else right now, but he could be there very quickly and drill 4 core holes. He wants to get a lot of structural detail about this target so that even if they don't get the no-brainer discovery hole with the first 4 holes, he has enough information to understand all the other geophysical data and geochemical data and plan a follow-up program. But discovery watchers aren't just stuck waiting for the Forest Service to get off its ass and get the permit done. VR Resources earlier this year explored the Reno project, and we also featured the Reno project in Discovery Watch, and it's in the James Bay lowlands of Ontario. This was a big IOCG target. They've drilled only 3 or 4 holes into it so far. They were chased out by freezing problems last March when they were drilling this room. They hope to drill a total of about 6 holes. They want to return to Reno. They still haven't found the copper gold enriched portion of it, though they've got a couple of areas within this system left. But around the same time, Mike Gunning was able to acquire from a private group a carbonatite that had been found decades ago by some oil company. It's called the Hecla Kilmer, and they raised money during the 2nd quarter of this year for this, and they conducted a drill program during the summer, and this is a carbonatite, a fairly large one. It's a known system. It has never been properly followed up, at least not from the context of an IOCG type of a system. And so they went in there and they just completed a bunch of holes into it. It's very difficult to tell because of the fine-grained nature of this black rock, where if there is copper in the form of chalcopyrite or bornite in it, it's very difficult to visually tell. They are running XRF scanning of it on a 10 centimeter scale because the assays are going to come back in 1 to 2 meter samples, and they want to really understand if this Hecla Kilmer system is mineralized with copper and gold. They want to understand in really precise detail what controls the mineralization, where does it hide. So Mike figures, we may get assays end of November, maybe, but definitely by the end of December. So even if they do not get the AMSO permit in time to start that 4-hole drill program this year, there is still potential discovery news coming from the Hecla Kilmer project, which is also in the James Bay lowlands. It's a bit south from the Reno project. So we haven't talked about that on Discovery Watch, but Hecla Kilmer is this bonus that showed up between the Reno program where they had to stop early and this AMSO program where they haven't yet had permission to go in there and do a serious drill program. So AMSO, we're still waiting, and Hecla Kilmer, we're waiting for assays to tell us whether or not they have an IOCG-style discovery in Ontario's James Bay lowlands.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Aben Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Aben's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at abenresources.com.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlan, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, whatever happened to Alto Ventures and its Oxford Lake gold play in Manitoba?
Alto Ventures had pretty much disappeared after early 2018 when we last talked about the company. Rick Mazer and Mike Koziel had developed this 30-kilometer long banded iron formation play in Manitoba. It had been found by Noranda decades ago when I was exploring the area for base metal projects. Rick and Mike developed this thing, said this thing deserves a modern exploration program, a systematic program, not just the zoom in on the Rusty Lake zone which Noranda managed to discover, and so that distracted it from doing anything else. That only generated a resource of about 154,000 ounces at 6 grams per ton gold. You need a lot more ounces of that to make that a standalone, and the goal would be to find something like Agnico's Meliadine project in the Nunavut area, or the Musselwhite project in Ontario, multi-million ounce, medium grade gold system. But this story, which I was pretty keen about in 2017, was derailed when in November of 2017, Kate Kempton showed up and told the Cree Nation that was in whose jurisdiction this was, that they ought to get an archaeological survey done on this property before allowing this junior to drill. And this person specializes, part of a anti-mining lobby, and works with First Nations group to create exploration roadblocks. And the local First Nations group had been completely on board with the drill program. Their members were going to be part of the drill team, drilling the holes during the winter of January 2018. But the chief got talked into saying, I guess we need to do that. Rick was unable to talk him out of it, and so they had to pull the plug on the drill program in January 2018. And that's the last time we talked about it. The company sort of bumbled along with its Gerald and Beardmore area properties, spent money there. But along the way came Mike Vandrowski, a former mining analyst who had set out to become basically a CEO of a junior company, and he started working with the First Nations group to get an exploration agreement. And he did this in the background, and last month they finally got an exploration agreement, and as part of it they will do an archaeological survey. they got the agreement just in time to get this survey done, because once it snows in this area, you're not going to be able to screen it to look for any potential artifacts from previous habitats or anything in that area. They're not expecting to find anything because the local Cree people are not aware of this Oxford Lake area of having been of any particular interest. So the expectation is that they will be able to mount $1 million exploration program in January that will first look at the Rusty Lake deposit, see if they can expand it at depth, and also see if there are parallel zones, plus explore the Blue Jay zone, which was discovered, but for which there was no resource ever estimated, and that consists of several parallel zones, which is why they think maybe at Rusty there could be more to it in terms of parallel zones, not just chasing it at depth. And then, of course, look at the larger land package to see if indeed there is a multi-million ounce system. But the company, Big Ridge Gold Corp, is not quite the original Alto Ventures. During those past 2 years, there was another company called Cipher Resources, which Jeremy Bond, the Australian fund manager, and David Rhodes, who was with Endeavour Financial, they had bankrolled this company with the plan of building up a royalty portfolio. But the group they put in charge of assembling this royalty portfolio managed to spend a good chunk of the money simply investigating royal potential opportunities without actually acquiring anything. And last year there was a shake-up where they got rid of the old group. They changed Cipher's name to Empress Resources. And in February this year, a deal was announced to merge Empress and Alto on a one-for-one basis. And once that was done, Alto transferred all its various royalties that it accumulated over the years into a subsidiary, which was then spun out to the shareholders on a 0.082-for-1 basis. And this Empress company supposedly will be listed sometime in the next few months. David Rhodes, who was part of the Endeavour Financial Group, he recently resigned to take charge of that. Jeremy Bond is still part of the Alto company, which when this spin-out was done, it rolled itself back 5-for-1, and then Mike Bandrowski, who had been in the background with all this, he emerged as the new CEO, and he managed to get a financing done of 22.3 million units at 10 cents with a full 20-cent warrant, good for 2 years. So the company right now has $2.8 million working capital. That financing came free trading in the last few weeks, so now the stock is, of course, back at 10 cents where everybody else got on board. And they are now waiting to get the survey completed and then get set to go on onto the Oxford Lake project and drill it in January. And they have sold the Geraldton Beardmore assets to some private company. They still have the Destiny Gold project, and they're keeping that as a sort of plan B. They're in no hurry to farm it out. It is an optionality style play, but they're also aggressively looking at potential other acquisitions, stories. So the old Alto Ventures is not quite the same company. Rick Mazer is still present. There's a new group that's pretty experienced with financing. Mike Bandrowski is leading the charge. So it is a revamped company, no longer just a toiling geologist company. So yes, Alto is alive and well again as Big Ridge Gold Corp, with the Oxford Lake project as something that we should watch for a discovery over the next few months.
We'll have more with John Kaiser right after this.
Value from success, growth in discovery. Golden Arrow Resources is a well-funded gold-copper exploration company with proven management and prospective properties in Chile, Argentina, and Paraguay. Golden Arrow trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, symbol GRG, on Frankfurt, symbol G6A, and the OTCQB, symbol GARWF. For more information, visit us at goldenarrowresources.com or call Sean at 778-686-0135.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome back. We're speaking with John Kaiser. John, do you have a news story for Discovery Watch?
Jim, the company I'd like to introduce is C3 Metals, Inc., which until recently was called Carub Copper Corp. Now, I first became aware of this company several years ago when Jeff Eckert was CEO, and he said, take a look at this Jamaican copper porphyry portfolio that we have assembled. Now, this company originally was spun out from Wallbridge Mining as something called Miocene, and it had all these British Columbia porphyry assets, and that company really didn't flourish. So at one point there in 2012 or so, they did a merger with a private company which had the involvement of an Australian group headed by Tony Manini, which had assembled various copper porphyry prospects in Jamaica. Now, Jamaica, as everybody knows, it's in the Caribbean and known for weed and reggae music. What a lot of people don't know is that it's actually a mining island. It has an established bauxite mining industry, but it's been very poorly explored for copper, gold type porphyry systems, even though it's in the right setting for these to be present in this place. And the company had assembled 6 or 7 such prospects. And when that Miocene did a 10-for-1 rollback and then merged with the private company and became Carub Copper Corp, they attempted to do more exploration, but it turned out that the market wasn't interested in Jamaica. For some reason, it didn't like the exploration potential. They had Oz Minerals in there on a farm-in deal where they could earn 70-80% of Bellas Gate and a couple others, and Oz Minerals did spend about $5-6 million on the project, and they did make a discovery there. But then in 2015-16, it decided to pull the plug on its global exploration efforts. It had acquired the Carapatina IOCG project in 2011, which was a big underground block caving operation that it was funding on its own. And that was a fairly big capex investment. So they decided, okay, we're going to develop this major deposit in Australia, and then we're going to change our exploration focus to something other than copper porphyry. So they did a deal with Carub Copper where they in essence gave back all the properties in which they had vested for future payments that will be no problem for Carub Copper to pay. But again, with Jeff Eckert put in charge, he couldn't get anybody to really pay attention. And then Tony Manini, whose Australian group, he had been involved in something called Tiger's Realm. They had put a lot of money into Carub Copper, and he decided that he wanted to assert greater control. So in 2018, he came on board, and Jeff Eckert stepped down into the role of VP of Corporate Development. Stephen Hughes was brought in. He had worked for more than a decade for Freeport on the Grasberg project in Indonesia, and he finally decided he had enough of that. He has obviously experience with copper skarn porphyry type system, and so they said, okay, what do we do with this Jamaican porphyry portfolio? Well, they decided they wanted something more advanced. So just over a year ago, they started looking really hard at many projects in all sorts of jurisdictions. And the one they settled on is the Jasperoid copper gold skarn in southern Peru. Hochschild had inherited this discovery back in 2012 when it acquired some company. Hochschild's, of course, is a gold-silver miner, so it explored this property with the hope that there could be a significant gold component. It did not find that to be the case, and so it sold it to another group, private group, called the Latin America Resource Group, whose biggest investor turns out to be Resource Capital Funds, which had ended up with a 30% interest in it. And last year, or earlier this year, the Carib Copper Company, which later changed its name to C3 Metals, it did a deal whereby it acquired this private company for 104 million shares, with RCF now emerging as an 8% shareholder. Now, this is not a discovery that has to still be made. This is a discovery that's been made, but for which a resource estimate has not yet been done. The drilling that Hochschild did was really geared to try and find a gold system. The company is now going in there to do a different grid-oriented fence of holes to better track the skarn mineralization. It is an oxidized system, so it has potential to be open pit heap leached and processed through SXEW. So the program that they are starting now is to assess how big is this system. It has a tonnage footprint of 100 million tons. What's its copper soluble grade going to be? How deep does the oxide go before it transitions into sulfides and can't be processed with heap leach SXEW? So this is the new sort of discovery story that's happening. It's more a discovery delineation play, and the goal is to demonstrate that there is a mineable deposit. It's in the neighborhood of Haquira and the Las Bambas project, which MMG has developed, so it's in a great neighborhood. There is deeper porphyry potential, but it's probably too deep to be open pit mined. However, if it has the right grade, it could end up being a block cave scenario. But the program that they're planning for the Jasperoid will be focused on the skarn potential of this system. They're going to start off with a 3,000 meter drill program that they hope will start in the next month or so. Peru's had a very serious lockdown, and despite its lockdown, it had a substantial COVID infection rate. That seems to have subsided right now, and they are relaxing things. The country's still not letting international flights into the country, though flights from other South American countries are permitted. They are still trying to control the COVID situation. The C3 Metals group are, in essence, running this remotely using Peruvian staff to run the program and operate it. So drilling will start later this year, hopefully before the end of the year. The original drilling will confirm some of the old holes to make sure that they can be used for 43101 calculation, and to set the stage for what they see as a 10,000 meter program in 2021. $1.5 million, and they have the money in the treasury for doing this. The company has 345 million shares or so out, so it's almost like an Australian style company, which is not surprising given that the Australians now are the guiding force behind this company. But this is certainly one to watch for 2021, and it's a question of how big and rich is this system, and some of the indications of other skarn showings on the property. Do they also have potential to evolve into larger skarn zones, so that we're not just dealing with this 100 million ton footprint, but perhaps with a lot more tonnage potential to feed one central facility? So that's our new one, the Jasperoid project of C3 Metals, formerly known as Carib Copper Corp. And it still has a number of these copper porphyry prospects in Jamaica, which might yet become of interest if we do go into a resource, a more base metals oriented bull cycle, not just a gold cycle.
John, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
We've been talking with John Kaiser, his website, kaiserresearch.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.